Welcome back to Recipe to Revenue. I'm your host, Leah Messina. I am excited to be here today with Steven Guistolise, and he is the founder of a business called Stadium on Wheels. And you're probably wondering what that means. And if you're a sports fan, you probably have some ideas of what that means. And if you love food trucks, you probably are excited to hear more about it. So, Steven, thanks for joining me. I can't wait to hear some more about your business concept.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate you having me on here.
Yeah, thanks. So your food truck business you started quite a while ago, and so tell us how the idea sparked and how you got into Stadium on Wheels.
So I have always been a baseball fan. Ever since I was 5 years old, my uncle would take me to White Sox games, and I just grew up loving it, and it was kind of my happy place.
Yeah.
And as I got older, I really wanted to find a career in sports or baseball.
Hmm.
And I'm not very athletic. I played baseball, but I never really made the team or anything like that.
Yeah.
So I was looking at something, maybe like back end
Hmm.
of baseball or sports, and I could never really find anything. And I ended up, I worked with my dad for a little bit. He owned an online magic business,
Oh,
and so I worked with him
like
for quite
magic
a
tricks
while.
and
Magic tricks. Yep.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So pretty unique, something kind of in the industry of fun.
Sure.
And, I worked with him a lot and I gained a lot of experience just, owning your own business from him.
Yeah.
After a while, he ended up moving out of state and I kind of had to find a career of my own. So I
Hmm.
got into the corporate world. I did not like it very much. And I then met my wife, my now wife,
Hmm.
and I would take her to baseball games with me, and it was just so fun for her to like learn the game with me, and I could, explain everything to her.
Yeah.
And she was always a big foodie, so we would always go out to eat afterwards, or we'd have the food at the
Yeah.
stadium.
Great date.
And so, yeah, we both just enjoyed both of those things so much, and we decided to try to combine it. So
Hmm.
one day I was looking on Craigslist back when Craigslist was popular, and I found a little 6x8 trailer, and I said, "Hey, it'd be cool if we can, start like a food truck. Let's see if a food truck business would work." And we combined our love for food with my love of baseball, and we just thought that having stadium food would be such a great concept for the food truck industry. And I looked
Yeah.
around; no one else was really doing it, so we did it. And ever since then, we've just been growing it since then, and it's been really, really fun and great.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there's just something about that being in a stadium and just going to get your, big soda and a hot dog or the
Yeah,
ice cream in, here in New York, in the Mets hat, right, is so iconic
yeah.
and such, ingrained in childhood memories, and it's just that stays with people. They have that nostalgia about it.
Totally. That's what we're trying to really go after is just that nostalgic feeling of just being at the ballpark, watching the game. We have an inflatable stadium that we provide as well. So we really try to
Mm,
make it all encompassing and bring that feeling to people
yeah.
with our food truck. Yeah.
That's so fun. So how did you
Mm.
go? So you bought this trailer, and so how did you go about trying to figure out how to set up this first iteration of the business?
Yeah, so we had no experience between me and my wife. We had no food experience,
Hmm.
food truck experience, or restaurant experience. It was completely new to us. And when we got the trailer, there were some things that we needed to fix so that it could be approved by the local health department.
Hmm.
We had to install a 3 compartment sink and all that stuff. So yeah, it was definitely a learning curve for us. Kind of a funny story. When we first went out to our first event, it was at a little league game,
Hmm.
and we decided to park. We were kind of too nervous to park right up near the front where
Yeah.
the action was happening, so we parked a few rows down in the parking lot, and we sat there for about 4 hours waiting for customers. We got 2 customers, and the first customer that came up, they got a hot dog from us, and for some reason, I never really looked into how to properly cook a hot dog. So we had a steam table. I threw a hot dog in there and I threw some like brown sugar in there, no water whatsoever.
Oh no.
And I cooked it and I don't, it was probably the worst hot dog that guy has ever had. And I went
The-
home and yeah, I was thinking like we put so much time into setting up the truck and, making it look good. We put a nice wrap on it. And I was
Yeah.
like, how did I not figure out how to cook a hot dog? The most basic thing to do in a food truck industry. So it was really bad.
How
But yeah,
funny.
eventually we started learning the proper techniques to cook a really good hot dog. We
Mhm.
learned how to expand our menu and things like that as well. So took
Yeah.
some time, but we figured it out.
So you had one guinea pig in the early days that probably was like, I don't know about those guys, but
Exactly. He's
hopefully
probably
they
never
gave you
coming
another
back to
chance."
us. Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Well, it was a lesson learned. So,
Yes.
uh, so so from there, I'm sure you also figured to move a little closer to the action and
Mhm.
attract more folks
Yes,
there. So
for
tell us
sure.
a little bit about how you begin to expand the business, and that this was something that like, oh, this is something we could actually do.
Yeah, yeah. So we started in the Chicagoland area with the 6x8 trailer. That's where me and
Hmm.
Olivia were born and raised for 30
Hmm.
years. And that was in 2019. And obviously 2020 came,
Yeah.
big year, COVID happened, all of the events that we had scheduled shut down. And so, you know, we have a really good thing here. So,
Yeah.
we wanted to see if it had legs to it. And we decided we wanted to move to a warmer climate. At this time, we didn't have kids yet.
Hmm.
So we decided
That
to
was the
move to
time to
Phoenix.
do it. Yeah.
Yeah, like, let's do it now because in a few years, we're gonna start having a family. So we decided to move to Phoenix, Arizona. We
Hmm.
sold the trailer. We got into an actual food truck.
Hmm.
And when we got out there, it was kind of a blessing in disguise because when COVID happened, all the brick and mortars shut down and
Yep.
food trucks really became like a mainstream thing all of a sudden. So
Right.
everything kind of happened all at the same time. And when we got out there, we just did amazing. Everybody loved us. Everybody loved our concept. And it kind of grew from there. And word of mouth got around, and it was just really great for us.
And so when you got to Arizona, where did you set up? Were you still near a baseball field or a
Yeah,
downtown area?
yeah. So for non-baseball fans, Phoenix is one of the spots for Major League Baseball spring training.
Right.
So spring training, it's actually happening right now here in February and March. And yeah, out in Arizona, there's 15 teams that are out there for spring training. They all have their own stadium. So when we went out there, it was really great because we were able to get in with these stadiums. We were able to
Mhm.
get in a lot of the food truck coordinators out there. Um, Arizona is just kind of like a food truck hub,
Yeah.
because of the climate and because of just the demographic there. It just does really, really well out there.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was just really great for us.
Yeah, having, lived in New Mexico for 14 years, there's, the area that I lived in has one of the largest farmers markets in the country, and you just that was my favorite part of the farmers market was all the food trucks
Yeah.
that would show up, and everybody would have their own, expertise of what they did, and it's really fun part of the culture there, and you have the good weather, and you're walking around outside, and you can,
Yes.
you know
It's just good vibes all around. And yeah, you
Yeah.
really like we really figured out the types of events that we do really well at when we were in Arizona
Mhm.
as well. So that then we applied that to, everywhere we go with our food truck, whether it's a colder state, like if you're up in New York, or if you're in a warmer state like Florida, we try to figure out what works for both of those climates and both of those
Mhm.
areas.
Yeah, 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 you do have to adapt a little bit to the market, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So, the food truck industry has changed a lot in the last, I don't know, let's just say a couple decades, right? But
Mhm.
really picked up in popularity, over the last 10 years or so. What are some of the things that have really jumped out to you about how it's changed?
Yeah, I just feel like I said at the beginning, I feel like food trucks have become more mainstream. You
Mhm.
you really will see them everywhere you go now.
Yeah.
Whereas maybe 10 years ago, it was like, oh wow, there's a food truck over there. I've never seen a food truck before. But now it's like, oh, they have food truck lots. And we actually put on a food truck night here where we live currently, which is Carmel,
Mhm.
Indiana. And yeah, I mean, the community just absolutely loves it.
Yeah.
We have anywhere from 8 to 10 food trucks per night that show up, and we get a large crowd that comes up. And if you really look at, like you said, farmers markets and places like that, if you go to farmers markets or just small boutique vendor markets,
Mm,
the most popular things there are usually food. So,
yeah.
food and food trucks, whether that be a food truck, food trailer, a food cart, or even just a pop up, it's really the most popular thing at a lot of these events. Um, and so, yeah, it's just really great now seeing that it's allowed to be in this mainstream network.
Yeah, I love those, like a food truck rally or meetup, and there was a couple of those that would happen in El Paso, Texas, which was pretty close to where we lived. And then,
Yeah.
traveling to like Austin is a little bit more of a permanent setup. There's just
Hmm.
that's where they're based, and just go into this little food truck court, if you will.
Yeah,
Um,
totally.
yeah, so it's fun to see how it's been more accepted, but also I think the types of food in the food trucks have gotten more evolved too.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the great thing about food trucks is you get these fusions of
Yeah.
cuisines now. So, you'll see Indian and Chinese mixed together or Mexican
Mhm.
and Chinese food mixed together. And it's just so good. And it's like the only place you can get it is at
Yeah.
this food truck. You can't find it anywhere else. So a lot of food truckers, they desperately want to have their own brick and mortar. And,
Mhm.
they start with a food truck concept because it's a lot cheaper to get into.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't work, then it doesn't work. But if it does work, it's just kind of like a platform for them to use to then get into a brick and mortar and then expand from there. So it's like the first
Mhm.
step of the process in a way for a
Yeah.
lot of these people.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. Yeah, the sort of the stepping stone and build your
Mhm.
following. And
Yeah.
um as a in the marketing agency side of my life, I would have conversations with people and with food truck businesses or thinking about a food truck business, and they would always ask how to market it. What's the best way
Yeah.
to get customers to know where they're at, especially if they kind of roam around a town? Uh, what are some of the things that have worked for you guys?
Yeah, so right off the bat, I mean, putting a lot of work into the exterior look of your food truck is really big because you're going to be driving around town and you're going to start getting noticed a lot. And if you have a truck that is super eye catching, you're going to, word of mouth travels pretty quickly, especially in the community that you serve. So if you have a food truck and it is dressed up like a giant pig, we in Arizona, there was a food truck that they outfitted it to make it look like a giant pig, and it was a
Yeah,
barbecue truck.
yeah,
And
yeah.
people know that truck. They're
Right.
like, "Oh my gosh,
It's
it's the
iconic.
big pig truck." Yeah. So definitely you wanna make sure that you don't have just like a plain white truck with maybe just your logo on it. You really wanna make it stand out. That's for number 1, obviously.
Yeah,
So yeah, you wanna do that. You obviously wanna make sure you have great food, quality food that people will keep coming back to, as well. There's so many trucks out there where at the start of an event, they'll have a line, like a super long line, and
yeah,
that that truck is good. So
yeah.
just the perception, yeah, just the perception of, this food is amazing, I have to stop here whenever I see this particular truck is big. And then there's just a lot of different platforms nowadays for food
Mhm.
trucks to, you can upload your schedule or you can upload where you're going to be each and every day. People can get onto these websites and locate where you're going to be each and every day because
Yeah,
it's pretty hard. You're not a brick and mortar. You're not going to be in the same spot every day.
right.
So, we kind of have to adjust to that part of the business.
How important do you think it is to have your food itself be, Instagram worthy for photos?
Yeah, yeah, really important. Obviously, like I said, the perception of your food as wow, we call it wow worthy,
Uh-huh.
where, if someone grabs your food and they're walking away from your food truck, we want other people to see that food and say,
Yeah.
wow, where did you get that food at? Like, where did you get that?
Yeah.
That looks amazing. So we have, our particular truck, we switched from just 6-inch hot dogs to foot-long hot dogs
Mhm.
because footlongs are just more cool.
More
They're
wow.
they're they're more wow-worthy. If people
Yeah.
see it, they don't see that very often, especially with the toppings and all that, and
Yeah.
we put a little piece of bubble gum, and we have our custom footlong boxes as well. And so,
Cute.
yeah, we have footlong hot dogs, footlong pretzels, and footlong nachos. And
Mhm.
as far as just like other trucks too, we have worked with so many food trucks that had such a unique twist on what they do. We had a French fry truck, and they made curly fries, and
Mhm.
they handed these curly fries out in this like popcorn container. It was a huge
Oh,
container.
wow. Yeah, fun.
Yeah, and these curly fries are huge, and they would put toppings on it like chili or cheese, things like
Mhm.
that. And it was just so unique and so cool and fun looking, and it
Yeah.
tasted great that people, wanted to know where they got that from. So really the
Mhm.
presentation in every aspect, the food, the truck itself is just a really big deal for you to get noticed and booked.
Yeah, yeah, and books, yeah, so,
Yeah.
you're not just driving around town, but you're also another line of business for you is for private events.
Yep, totally.
Yeah, yeah. So, just going back to, your comment about everything being foot long, so at what point did you make the decision of upgrading your menu?
Yeah, so when we were in Chicago, we just sold strictly 6-inch hot dogs, and we didn't
Mhm,
really sell anything else. We sold a few snacks. We sold like Cracker Jacks and a
mhm,
bag of chips, things like that. But we noticed that our price per ticket was a lot lower than a lot of our other fellow food truckers out there. They
mm,
were
mhm,
making, anywhere from $15 to $18 per ticket.
yeah,
We were making like anywhere from $6 to $8 per ticket.
okay,
With that, we weren't really we would get weeded out of the industry pretty quickly with those prices. And I
yeah,
know this is kind of a separate discussion. Is food trucks, are supposed to be cheap. That's kind
mhm,
of what the portrayal of food trucks
yeah.
are is,
I think
you can
maybe
go
they
to
used to be, it feels like nothing is cheap anymore, but
I know, I know, I know, I know. So that's like I said, that's a whole different topic,
yeah,
altogether. I'm just gonna focus just
yeah,
on,
yeah,
like, our food truck, but,
yeah,
yeah, just, you kind of have to you have to stay alive in this business, and so
sure,
we decided it'd be beneficial to upgrade to foot-long everything. So,
yeah,
like I said, the foot-long hot dog, foot-long pretzel, foot-long nachos. Not only will it be more wow-worthy and cool
mhm,
looking, but it also, it'll increase the price per ticket for us to kinda keep things moving. And, we we did that when we moved out to Arizona, and
mhm,
we found that people actually really loved it. They loved having the footlong options, and it was something fun for their kids to,
yeah,
eat or go around. And with the footlong option, you can cut it in half, you can split it.
sure,
All of our entrees you can split, into 2 meals for especially for kids. And then, like I said, the price per ticket just increasing, that kind of benefits us as a business. It benefits
mhm,
our franchisees as well. And yeah, just these days, like you said, everything is just going up like crazy.
yeah,
We have to make sure that with beef prices as well, beef prices,
mhm,
fluctuate like crazy.
yeah,
So, that's part of it too, really.
right, right. No,
Yeah.
that makes a lot of sense, and,
Yeah.
I mean, and what kid doesn't like getting, like a hot dog and say, "Oh, look, it's bigger than my head," there's something about,
Yeah.
like, them comparing it to their own small stature that they just love, so,
It's so funny when
yeah,
kids get it, they're just expecting a normal size hot dog, and then when they get
yeah,
it, they're like, "Oh my gosh, this is crazy. I've never
yeah,
seen this before." So, yeah, it's
right,
fun.
you
Yeah.
wanna capture that wow moment, I'm sure, every
Yes.
time.
Totally. Yep.
So you mentioned about franchising, and I want to start to talk a little bit about that and how your
Yeah.
plans, as you began to develop the business and thinking about expansion and growth of it. Tell us about that decision to go the franchise route.
Yeah. So when we started, this journey, in 2019, we just wanted to test it out, see if, we could do it and if it would be successful. And then when we moved out to Arizona and we saw that it was extremely successful, we were thinking to ourselves, "Hey, maybe this could be a franchisable
Hmm.
concept." There were a few trucks in Arizona that were in the beginning stages of franchising, and currently there's not a lot of food truck franchises on the road. If you really think about it, there's a few
Yeah.
big ones, um, but we thought, "Hey, if we can bring this concept to communities across the United States, it would be really great and fun because there's so much opportunity in youth sports, which is
Hmm.
kind of our bread and butter
Yeah.
because we're sports themed, and just events in general. Like the your local park district puts on events all the time.
Mhm.
4th of July,
Sure.
concerts in your park, things like that. And I feel like there's such a need for food trucks now and there's not really a lot of options for food truck franchises
Right.
that, we're just testing the waters, and seeing how this goes. And so far, we're getting a lot of interest in that, and we're going through
Mhm.
the discovery process with a lot of people, and we're still an emerging brand as far as
Yeah.
franchising is concerned.
Mhm.
So yeah, we're that's kind of the process that we're in right now, and we're gonna
Yeah.
hopefully see it expand and grow
Mhm.
here soon.
Yeah, that's like it's an exciting path and part of your journey to get to that and say, let's bring this across the whole country into different markets and into
Yeah.
other people's hands. The only franchise, the food truck franchises I can think of are in the dessert space. I could think of
Mhm.
like a Good Humor truck or Mr.
Yeah.
Softy truck or Kona Ice.
Yep.
Can't think of too many that are on the food side.
Yeah, that's also a big thing is that, we did our research and we saw that, a
Mm-hmm.
lot of these food truck franchises, the really most popular ones, they just sell, one or two dessert options, or there's, little snack option food truck franchises out there as well, which
Mm-hmm.
makes sense because you want to make sure that you kind of limit what you sell on your truck because you need to get these
Yeah.
things out of the window super, super quick. So having
Yeah.
just one dessert option to get out the window like a Kona Ice is
Yeah.
smart. And it's easy, and they can only have, they only need one person to really work these trucks. But there's not a lot of options for food truck franchises that sell full entree meals.
Mm-hmm.
And really, one of the benefits of that for us is that we can get booked for these catering jobs. And catering, if you talk to anyone in the brick and mortar space, is really the golden ticket
Yeah.
for a lot of these companies. Catering jobs, they will usually pay on behalf of who they're
Mm-hmm.
feeding. So
Yep.
these are big ticket, you know, events, and catering is just such a big thing in the food truck industry,
Yeah.
and we can really take advantage of that over these dessert trucks out there.
Yeah, we definitely did a taco truck for my daughter's graduation party,
Yeah,
and it was yeah, I mean, everybody loved it. I mean, nobody was
yeah.
disappointed that they couldn't walk over and get their tray of, tacos, so
Yeah, yeah, and yeah, birthday parties, just things like milestones, weddings, graduation parties, things like that. Uh, sure they want dessert, but if they also want to feed their guests,
yeah.
it makes sense to go with a food truck because you get an actual experience rather than
Mhm.
just getting a Jimmy John's and having them deliver some subs to you. You get the actual food truck in your driveway
Yeah.
serving your guest. And with us in particular, we have, like I said, our inflatable stadium which kids
Mhm.
absolutely love, and you just get an experience with food trucks over a brick and
Yeah.
mortar.
Yeah, it's not messing up your kitchen, it's
Yeah, yep,
yeah, you don't have to worry about the cleanup and,
yeah. You don't have to have
and your
dad
guests will
on the
get warm
grill.
food. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
So is your, inflatable stadium, is that a jumping house or
So a lot of kids use it as a jumping house,
Uh-huh.
but it's a baseball inflatable stadium.
Uh-huh.
You have a little ball and it hovers over a cone, and kids can hit it into little holes in the backdrop. But we are
Yeah.
actually expanding it a little bit because we have some franchise candidates who are more interested in basketball or football. So
Okay.
we're going to allow them to choose which sport they prefer. So if they
Mhm.
prefer basketball, we'll provide them with an inflatable basketball
Yeah.
game.
Nice.
Or if they prefer football, we'll, inflatable football stadium. So,
Mhm.
we really give that option now. And like I said, that's just the progression. Like I said, from the
Mhm.
beginning when we started, we really
Yeah.
wanted to focus on baseball. We were
Mhm.
initially called Moonshots, and if you're not a baseball fan, Moonshots, it's like a high flying home run.
Mhm.
And people just didn't get it. So we so we so we changed our name to just strictly Stadium on Wheels.
Yeah.
We serve all types of sports, and everyone everyone loves it at any sporting event that we serve at.
Yeah. A little bit more flexible for expansion too.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. So, have you gone out and you had mentioned like little league teams and whatnot, going out to the towns or the leagues and
Yeah.
broker a deal with them to be there every game? Is
Yeah.
that how? You've
Yep.
grown the
So,
business.
yeah, for youth sports, our name gets out there pretty quickly for youth
Mhm.
sports, whatever community we're in. They really love us. Especially if they don't have their own concessions,
Yeah.
they will reach out to us to serve their games or their
Mhm.
tournaments. And we're the preferred vendor for a lot of these youth sports. And what's great about us is we really want to give back to the community,
Mhm.
because we're really community oriented. Our truck is great at just all of these great events. Like I said, park districts put us on birthday parties, and what we do is we give 10% of sales back to the youth sports that we're serving.
Mm.
So that also includes schools. So if we do school events, we'll give 10% of our sales back to schools, so that it's a win-win for both of us.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're out there, we're making money,
Right.
we're also giving a really great memorable experience, and the
Mhm.
schools or these youth leagues will also get a percentage of that back as well. So
Has, offering that 10% back, have you seen that that has helped you close a deal with a school or a league?
yes, for sure. Yeah, I mean, if you can give back, to any type of event that you're
Yeah.
serving, first of all, they're going to appreciate it a lot, and they're most likely going to keep you in their contact list. So if they put on this event in the future, or if they have more events, you're going to be the first person that they call. So you definitely want to
Mhm.
you want to foster that relationship with a lot of these people,
Yeah.
especially people that put on really great events where you can make good money and have your food truck get exposed more. So
Mhm.
that's really the key for sure.
Yeah. On the catering side of your business, how have you marketed that to get private events?
Yeah. So that's a little bit harder, but I used to do this, especially if you're in a new market.
Mhm.
I would just go to a lot of these big warehouses, on warehouses, or we did a lot of things with waste management.
Mhm.
Just look for places that have over 50, over 100 employees, and I would just go inside to the front desk and I would just hand them our catering menu, and I
Yeah.
would say, hey, we're a
Call
f
us.
we're a local food truck. Food trucks are a great way to kinda boost morale in your
Mhm.
company. We usually will do, like, Food Truck Fridays or employee appreciation events,
Mhm.
and we would love to serve you guys, and that would work out really well. We would get
Yeah.
calls a lot, just, "Hey, this is a great idea. We would love you to come out and serve our employees."
Yeah. There's a, co-working space near me here that, I think it's on Fridays. They'll bring in different food trucks for the people because they don't have,
Yeah.
a restaurant or anything really nearby, so
Yep.
it's nice that they offer that and, um, give people a chance to experience it there.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And like I said, because it's mainstream, it's really popular now. It's picking up with just a lot of companies that
Mhm.
are even like old school companies, like repair shops and places like that.
Mhm.
They're seeing other companies do it. They want to do it now for their employees as well.
Yeah, because, a lot of companies are very used to, "Okay, let's place the lunch order and somebody's gonna go pick it up."
Go pick it up. Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
so
Let's get McDonald's again. Let's get Wendy's again.
yeah, yeah.
So,
So this is a
yeah.
little bit more fun. It's obviously interactive. It gives people a little bit more choice over what it is that they want to get from the menu.
Yeah, for sure.
What do you think has been the hardest part about running this business?
Oh, well, I mean, there's right now the place where we're at is that we still are working the actual truck, so we're operators of a food truck,
Mhm.
and now we're in this whole new franchising world.
Yeah.
So it's kind of, we're just slammed between the two of them because, right now we're here in Indianapolis now. This is where we're headquartered.
Mhm.
It's our slow season. It's
Mhm.
cold. We're getting only maybe like a couple of events a month right
Yeah.
now. But once April, March and April hit, we just get into our food truck season, and that's just we're working every single day. It's really crazy, and it's just I would say the hardest thing is probably just keeping up with the operations of things.
Mhm.
If your sole focus is just on working the food truck, you can hire out like an all-star staff to just go out and do
Yeah.
the operations for you, go out and do the events for you. What's really great with our concept is that you don't need skilled workers. You don't need someone who knows how or is into metal fabrication or something
Sure.
skilled.
Yeah.
You could just get, like, high school kids to do it, and it's a really
Mhm.
fun job for them, they really enjoy it. But then, yeah, like, on the franchising side, we're pretty new at that,
Mhm.
so it's still just us learning about, how it works and,
Mhm.
just going through the discovery process with candidates who are interested,
Yeah.
in Stadium on Wheels. And, there's hiccups that are going on
Mhm.
along the way,
Yeah.
but we're figuring it out, we're smoothing it out, and yeah, so that's just kind of, the 2 different worlds that I'm currently in right now.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's, how the business grows and, where you need to kinda put your focus. It
Yeah. Totally.
evolves
Yeah,
as you scale. So,
yeah, and business is hard. I mean, that's
yeah.
part of the reason why franchising is such a great option because a lot
Mhm.
of a lot of people that go out there and they wanna start their own business, they don't really have, like, a blueprint to go off of where it's like, "Okay, these are the do's, these are the don'ts, these are the
Right.
mistakes that, other people have made." You just kinda gotta go through it, and that's how we went through it at the beginning, like I said, with the hot
Mhm.
dog. I didn't know how to cook a hot dog, and I
Yeah.
could have given up right then and there and just, sold the
Yeah.
trailer and, I don't wanna do this ever again. I got
Yeah.
embarrassed. I don't wanna be
Yeah.
embarrassed anymore, but luckily I, had the ambition to go through and just figure things out and get embarrassed. You gotta get
Mhm.
embarrassed, at times, and
Right.
that's how
And
you
it's
get
not
better.
gonna be 100% all the time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally, and
Right.
so if you go into franchising, you kind of have that blueprint
Mhm.
for you to be successful, kind of right off the bat, which is
Yeah,
nice.
absolutely. So for some of these early people that you're working with on the franchising, has that come through people that you know, or did you go do like one of these franchise shows and got a bunch of leads? What's
Yeah.
been the process like?
So the process for franchising, we actually just signed on with an FSO company
Mhm.
in the summer of 2025. So just this past summer.
Mhm.
And, we got with them. They almost work as a franchisor and we're a
Mm.
franchisee, whereas they're teaching us the process of how to go about selling franchises
Mhm.
and what to do to make your franchisee successful, putting in a great support system and a great training system.
Yeah.
When we first started our franchise and initially got our first franchise disclosure document, which is a document that you need in order to start
Mhm.
selling franchises, we did that in Arizona, and we didn't know what we were doing. We just we got this disclosure document, which is super expensive, and it's like, okay, what's next? What's the process here?
Yeah.
How do we start getting leads, things like that? And, there really is a whole process in doing that. There's broker networks
Mhm.
that will try to look for candidates for you and try to sell franchisees for you. And then there's another aspect, which is the kind of the route we're going, which is like digital ads. So, you
Mhm.
want to market it on Meta and,
Yeah.
Facebook, Instagram, all of these places.
Yep.
And we feel that actually digital ads is bringing us a lot more success than going through these broker networks.
Mhm.
But like I said, the company, the FSO that we're working with has been so great to work with. They really know the process
Yeah.
and just how to make someone successful in the
Yeah,
franchise.
yeah, guiding you through it. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
always, great when you have somebody, obviously, they're experts in that fields, but
yeah,
can save you a lot of time and heartache of how do you approach
yes,
this and make sure, especially with franchising, you just have to have the documents just ready, right,
yeah.
tight, and, you know,
There's so
legally
much.
sound.
Yeah, there's so much because, when we got our, franchise disclosure document, we thought, "Okay, we're ready to start." It's like, "No, no, no, no. You have so much more you gotta prepare."
Yeah.
You gotta make sure that you have the support and training set up for your franchisees to be
Mhm.
successful. That means
Yep.
you have to have operations manuals, how-to guides, different platforms like Monday.com is really popular. Just things like
Mhm.
that in place so that you can support those franchisees.
Right.
So, yeah.
Wow. Yes, lots to think about to do it right.
Yeah,
Uh,
there's so much to think about, and there's still more to think about, like, there's things that are gonna come up, and it's like, "Oh, we should really have something for this if this
Mhm.
problem
Yeah,
arises."
football inflatable
Yeah.
stadium instead of baseball.
Yeah, yeah, or,
Yeah.
like our builder, you need a builder for the food trucks, and you need to,
Mhm.
work out deals with them and things like that as well,
Yeah.
so there's a lot.
Exciting times. Well,
Yeah,
growth is exciting too. It
growth
can be
is exciting.
scary and a headache, but very exciting. And
Yes,
we're very
yes.
excited for you. So,
Yeah,
so
thanks.
as we get to the end of our time today, I want to hear my last question. What has been your recipe to revenue?
Yeah, so I feel that just having a reliable concept, something that people, love. We're a fun, family friendly food truck. And that really makes people happy. And, I feel like we're in the business of fun.
Yeah.
We like to give people an experience that they'll never forget. So when you provide that to the community that you serve, you're just going to be you're going to be successful because people love you. People want you to be at their events, their birthday parties, their corporations, their concerts in their park, things like that. So as long as you're consistent, you're reliable, you're memorable, um, that's really the key to success for us, and that's how we generate revenue. To be honest, that's
Sure.
we go out, we get lines out the window, and it's
Yeah.
just great for us.
Yes. That has to feel so good for you guys.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, Stephen, thank you so much for joining me today on Recipe to Revenue. It's been such a great conversation. And for those out there that want to learn more about your business, what's the best way to reach you?
Yeah, so you can go to stadiumonwheels.com. You can just browse our menu. We have profile pages as well that you can go to. And if you're interested in a franchise, we have a little franchise tab that you can click on and fill out your information, and it'll get sent to us, and we can just go through that discovery process with you.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And thank you, everybody, for listening today. You can find our episodes on Spotify, YouTube, Amazon, Apple, iHeartRadio, and a number of other platforms. We also have the episodes now up on our website on recipe2revenue.co. So look for them there along with a blog post. So you'll find Steven's blog post will be up there alongside of his episode with the links that he just shared as well. So thanks again. We'll talk soon. Thanks for listening to Recipe to Revenue. If you're building in the food, beverage, or hospitality space, you're in the right room. Subscribe for more founder stories and real-world growth strategies. And if this episode helped, share it with a friend and leave a review. It's how this show grows. For tools, templates, and ways to work together, visit recipe2revenue.co. I'm Leah Messina. Until next time, keep cooking up the next revenue stream.